Hey, Josh.
Hey, what's up, Josh? How you doing today?
Good to see you, brother. Doing well. Much better than I've earned. So praise God for
There you
that.
go.
Hey, yo. Yeah, awesome. So this is Josh, good friend and brother. Um, so, Josh, would you like to introduce yourself to everybody?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm super happy to be here. My name is Josh. I was just talking with we'll call him Josh One for now. We'll
Hey,
call him
yo.
Josh One. He's
You can
the
be Josh
original.
one.
I was talking to him the other day. We were talking about things we're very passionate about, and I was telling him I love meeting new people, and he was like, "You know what? I've been running this thing for a while. I happen to know quite a few people talking about all you lovely people here, and I was like, I'd love to meet them, share anything I know. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. So we were talking about kind of what are people passionate about, and Josh said he's passionate about meeting people. And so thought that I know a lot of you guys ask questions about that. Like you say, you're living in America, um, or you're living in Britain, whatever it is, but it's really hard to talk with people. You're kind of like, I'm with Americans, but how do I start conversations? So here we've got our expert here with Joshy Vegas. So thought that would be pretty sweet. So I'll just give a quick introduction to myself. Um, I'm Josh from New Jersey or New Jersey in America, and yeah, taught English in Saudi for almost 3 years, and so got to learn some Arabic there, which was pretty sweet, and got to meet a lot of cool Saudis, Jordanians, Palestinians, kind of people from all over there, Jordanians, Egyptians. So got to meet a lot of you guys, and so I yeah really enjoy just meeting people as well. That's an awesome thing to meet new people who God has created. So, um, yeah, so we're both, to answer your question there, yeah, we're both from America. Um, and we're going to try to keep this in English. Some of you guys, maybe English is a little hard for you, but we're going to try to keep it in English as good listening practice. Okay, so try to listen. If there are any words you don't understand, just write it in the comments below, and we'll try to explain some of those words. Okay. Sweet. Well, let's get going. So we have one question from Fatima Aziz 20, and she asked, "How can I have a good conversation in English with people I meet for the first time?" So, Josh, what would you say for that? People who like they meet somebody who's a native English speaker and they want to know, how do I talk? What do I say?
that's a good one, and it's always so fun. Like I said, I think the more people we meet, the more the more we learn about the world. So meeting people is
Hmm.
something so exciting. But typically those will start with like, "I'm good." Like someone will ask you, "How are you?" Right?
Hmm.
Um, And the common response is just, "I'm good, how are you?" And that's a very good, simple answer, and that's always going to work. But a cool way to maybe spice that up would be to say something cool about yourself
Hmm.
as well. So maybe a fun fact about something you like to do, right?
Hmm.
Um, so if somebody approaches you to say, "Hey, nice to meet you. I'm so and so. How are you?" And you respond with your name. You go, "I'm doing great." And then you could maybe say, "I just got back from doing
Hmm.
that you enjoy," and just then you established not only how are you, but something about you, and conversation can go from there.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good idea. So maybe even like for you guys, if you want to meet somebody, you ask the question first, how are you? And when they respond, you kind of have to ask, how are you in return?
Yeah,
Then maybe you can take advantage of that. Use that opportunity to share a little more. So to practice that, um, let's see. I want to ask all of you guys watching, how are you? And try to answer with like good or bad, whatever you're doing, and then add one sentence about what's going on in your life. Use this as practice for when you get there in the real world. So let's see some of your answers. How are you guys? But yeah, I like that idea. That is a really good suggestion. So we'll see if anybody answers that. So again, answer in the comments. How are you? And then add one sentence about yourself. So for example, yeah, I'm doing well. It's been a busy week, but I'm looking forward to the weekend. I'm going to go visit my family. Something like that, where it just gives you, it shares a little bit about your life. It makes you a real person. Because Josh, would you say that like kind of some Americans are a little like suspicious and kind of wondering why do you want to talk with me at first?
yeah, absolutely. So I feel like what does I know a couple people from a couple different like countries, whether it's whatever part of the world it is. But typically, what I realize is people from big countries,
Hmm.
they lose a lot of that what's the word I'm looking for? The personal aspect of
Hmm.
meeting a stranger, right? So
Yeah.
in America, typically, sometimes people might be a little standoffish when you first meet them, right?
Yeah.
I think what really helps is finding something in common. And that
Hmm.
really lowers a lot of walls that I feel like since we're such a big country over here, um, people typically put up. So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point to try to find what is that thing that you have in common, something that's the same for both of you. So what's like an example of something that you sometimes find in common with people that helps you to build that connection, just to give people an idea.
that's a good one. So I'm what we call a huge nerd. I also really like sports. So typically, I try and find relation in either or music as well. So three of my big passions are music, sports, and video games.
Hmm.
So I'll try and find something in those subjects that the person I'm talking to knows about as well, and then we can continue conversation from there.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. So like in kind of that first question then, when somebody asks you how you are and you share a little more, do you try to kind of like point in those directions to try to see if there's anything there?
Typically, yeah, and you can
Okay.
even like it's sometimes. I mean, you can't tell everything about a person by how they look, but
Hmm.
sometimes you can tell. Maybe the person's wearing a sports jersey, and
Hmm.
you can continue the topic towards basketball or something like that. Or maybe they're, I don't know, you can tell a lot about a person by um, what they're wearing or something like that. So typically you
Hmm.
just try and find anything to relate with them and then you continue the conversation from there.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good idea. So yeah, maybe some of you guys as well can practice that. Write down two or three things that you're really interested in, things that you really enjoy talking about, and see. So write those down first, and then when you're talking with people, you can try to think about how you can get into a conversation about that. So I saw some of you guys said like, I just finished eating. So if you love food, that's a great conversation starter, right? People love talking about food. Somebody says, "How are you?" "I'm doing well. I just ate at this great restaurant." They may want to ask you more about that. So things like that can be really helpful. So try in the comments to write down three topics you connect with people on, that you enjoy talking with them about, and try to find ways to connect in that. Um, and yeah, just some of you guys are asking if I speak Arabic. Um, أيوة الحمد لله أعرف بعض العربي بس الحين بنتكلم بالإنجليزي. So we'll keep it in English for now, to practice. But yeah, it's a really good point. So Josh, any other tips you have around kind of that topic there, that question?
In terms of greeting people, I
Hmm.
think a smile goes a long way. And I know that
Yeah.
sounds very standard, but if you're greeting somebody and you look legitimately like you would love to get to know them and talk to them, and you have a happy look on your face, that's going to
Hmm.
go a long way in starting a conversation. I think in any
Yeah.
language, but I think especially in the States, a warm smile goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really sweet. Yeah, somebody there you go, politics, sports, celebrity. So like that person just said, see if I could bring up the name. Yeah, Otak U94 just wrote down three things that they're interested in. So other people try to think about that as well. But yeah, when you're saying that, smile. Smiling, like you said, that is really huge. Um, so some other things that I've heard about kind of for starting up conversations after that, how are you doing? Um, One thing I think is really helpful is just to ask people. There you go, we got movies, food, study. Um, so one thing I think is helpful is even to ask people for advice. Just kind of saying like, hey, like, do you know any good restaurants in the area? And everybody has a restaurant they really like, right?
Mm.
Everybody loves talking about restaurants. And when you feel like, or when they feel like you're giving them that position of being the smart one, they know what's going on. People like that. They like to give advice, especially about food. So that can be a good conversation starter. Just like, hey, what are some good restaurants around here? Do you have any other ideas of topics that are kind of good to like after they say how are you doing, they don't really keep it going?
That's a good one. I will say, just to reiterate with food. They call
Yeah.
food a universal language, so
Yeah.
I think there's good reason for that. Um, if you have like, I mean, I feel I'm going to bring it back to sports again, but even
Hmm.
asking for different like points of interest, I guess, in an area. So like maybe you like playing basketball, asking where the basketball courts are. Um, that's just great
Yeah.
casual talk, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
once you, I feel like over here, like there's almost a level you get past like talking casual with somebody, and then typically people will become friends like much quicker after that, and that's where you can ask more from there. But there definitely is like a barrier for like you want to make a lot of casual talk first. So
Hmm.
that is
Yeah.
something I feel like that's huge in learning. So
Yeah.
keep asking questions like that. This
Yeah.
guy
So
knows all the answers.
yeah, definitely not. But yeah, that's a good point. So kind of like if somebody's in a conversation and they quickly start asking about kind of like where do you live, like where do you work, things like that. Do you think some of those you kind of have to wait a little more before you ask?
Yeah, yeah. So it's important to find like I kind of said before, like hobbies. Like you guys were just
Hmm.
listening into those things are very good surface level conversation starters. So you would probably want to wait for other questions, like what you were just mentioning, for a little longer.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, that's a good point. So yeah, so just try thinking about that, thinking of what are ways that you can connect with people, show them that you're a real person that's not trying to get money from them. Because I think sometimes people think this guy's talking to me because he wants something from me. But show them that you're a normal person who just wants to talk. You have something in common. That can be like you just start off talking about the weather. Just say like, wow, like it's great weather out today. Talking about video games, whatever it is, just like something on their shirt. If people have something on their shirt, like use that. um, that's a great opportunity to start up a conversation. Also, phones. Like everybody always has a phone with them. That's a great way to start up a conversation. Just looking and saying like, "Hey, I really like your phone. Like, what type is that?" People love to talk about
Right.
that.
I will say, like shoes too. Shoes are
Yeah.
big
Okay.
because in America, people really do like. I think shoes are really important to them. I used to have a shoe in this room somewhere,
Yeah.
but I
Somewhere.
know something's like shoes. That's a good casual thing. Like
Yeah.
phones, shoes. Um, those are really easy conversation starters that like I could say to somebody I legitimately just met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good point. There's no risk with those things, right? It's not like
Mm.
you're sharing your deep secrets. It's just shoes. You're
Yeah.
showing that to everybody so you can talk about it. So, good. So, next question that some people have asked about. Um, so, say some of these people here are living, like somebody said they're in New York. Some people are living in English-speaking countries, um, and they're around Americans. They're around like British people all the time, but they're wondering how do I talk with them? Like how do I build relationships? I pass by them all the time, but what would you recommend for some ways to get connected? Like whether that's events or organizations or anything to go to. What would you recommend for them being able to meet Americans in a normal setting?
Yeah. So like we were just saying before, um, we can start very casual conversations with people, but sometimes if you meet with a purpose, that's so much better in terms of getting to know somebody. So with me, I meet a lot of people and form a lot of good close friendships at my church,
Hmm.
which is a great place to go to do that because typically they're very purposeful, you know, with like
Hmm.
small groups with people your age or just being able to gather with people on a day of the week. Um,
Yeah.
I also really do like I mentioned before sports gatherings. So
Hmm.
typically there'll be sporting events like actual football games and stuff like that, but those are less personable than saying going out to a basketball court and playing a game of basketball with some people. That's a great way to find a common interest and develop
Hmm.
relationships with people.
Yeah. Yeah, that is sweet. That kind of whenever you play sports together, like that just unites you. Unless you're on the other team,
Yeah,
then you hate them. But
exactly.
but yeah, no, that's a good point. And like playing sports or watching sports, either way, that kind of brings you together. In church, yeah, that's a like great example that whether you guys like follow that or not, it can be a good way to meet people. That like you said, if it's a good church, they'll be friendly and they'll want to especially care about foreigners. So that can be a cool opportunity. Somebody mentioned your guitar. Do you think that anything with music is a good way to connect with people?
Absolutely. So that's another universal language, right? Music is awesome. So if you guys are into playing music or anything like that, finding fellow like-minded musicians,
Hmm.
huge way to not only start conversation, but also maybe you can look for other people who play things to play music together,
Hmm.
like a drummer or someone who plays keyboard. That's a great way to develop relationship with somebody and friendship.
Yeah. Yeah, that is sweet. That yeah, just look up like you can even look up online like local concerts, music festivals, anything like that. And that's a really great way because people are there. And do you feel like when there's some concert or something like that, that people are kind of more open to talking with people than they would be if they're on the street?
Absolutely. So, um, what music tends to do, what the term is, it'll lighten an atmosphere, which is what
Hmm.
we say. Atmosphere
Yeah.
is kind of the term we use for how a room of people are feeling.
Hmm.
So typically at a lot of shows, people will feel closer together because they're
Hmm.
united under the common interest in the music that's playing. So that's a great idea. If you want to look
Yeah.
up like local shows around you and stuff like that, you might even be able to support like a small band or something
Hmm.
like that. That might be a group of people that you can develop a friendship with.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really cool. So yeah, just do a Google search for like if you're in um, Orange Orange City, just say like music festivals near Orange City, or uh, concerts near Orange City, and you'll find a lot of things around there. So that can be really helpful. One other thing, I'll just send this here, is meetup.com. I just sent it in the comments. Is a really great website where the goal is to connect people who are living in the same area. So you can go to that website and find different communities that they get together to play board games, or they get together to play sports. Um, they get together to play music, anything like that. You can find things you're interested in, and it's just a really great way to connect. So I would recommend checking that out, meetup.com. Um, so then the next thing would be for people, maybe the majority of people here who are not in English speaking countries, people who are living in the Arab world, and they don't see too many Americans in their normal day. What do you recommend as ways that they can connect with people while they're far away from physical, like from actual Americans or British people, Australians, whatever it may be?
I got you. So I think the biggest thing is obviously the internet, right? So I mean that's how we're meeting together right now.
Hmm.
Um, Now, things I really enjoy. I mentioned before that I really like video games. There's a site
Hmm.
called Twitch where you watch people in front of a camera live stream themselves playing their favorite video games. And what
Hmm.
that does is that creates a community of people watching this person. And typically they form very tight-knit communities, which is very cool to see. And that is an
Yeah.
amazing place to um, consume English media, so you're hearing it in your head very often.
Hmm.
And also, it's a great place to practice your English. And typically, what those people do, they'll form communities on Twitch. So they'll
Hmm.
go live, they have a channel. And then what they typically do is they'll give a link to something called a Discord.
Hmm.
And what you do there is whenever the person's offline, they can meet there and talk together. So two of those things, Twitch, which is like the site I stream to. That's a great way, I'd say, to meet people who speak English natively.
Hmm.
And then Discord is a great place to type and chat with them
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good idea. So check out Josh on Twitch, because that is a really great way to talk. And you, there you go. Nora Ma Four wrote it correctly. Twitch, Twitch. And I'll post the link to Josh's Twitch afterwards. That you can check him out there. Um, I think you mentioned before, because I'm not super familiar with Twitch, but you've
Mm.
told me that there's like one option for kind of watching people play specific video games, and there's another one for kind of more focused on chatting. Is that the
Yeah.
case on Twitch?
So there is a whole category on Twitch called just chatting. So
Okay.
basically just talking. So it'll
Hmm.
be somebody in front of their computer literally just talking with chat and hanging out. I'll do that
Hmm.
occasionally when I'm not playing a game. I'll literally just sit there and talk to the people in my chat because I think that's something a good streamer is really going to like doing that.
Yeah.
Just talking with you guys.
Hmm. Yeah, no, that's an awesome idea. That if you guys are wondering, how do I talk with Americans while I'm living in another country, check out Twitch. That sounds like a really awesome opportunity. Um, some other ones, there's an app called Friender, Friender, that's focused on connecting people, especially during like this pandemic going on, of helping people meet new friends. And there's another one called Speaky, Speaky, that's focused on connecting people who want to learn different languages. So you help them learn Arabic, they help you learn English. You can try those out. Just some ways to connect. Somebody just asked, is it safe? With Twitch, would you say it's safe for them to talk with people there?
Absolutely. So as you do anything on any aspect of the internet, you definitely don't want to reveal any personal information or anything
Hmm.
like that. But what Twitch should be is reacting to what the person is saying,
Hmm.
enjoying what they're saying, and just watching the game. And then you probably want to keep anything too personal out of the chat, just because you never know. You want to be safe online. But
Yeah.
I've been on Twitch for about 2.5, 3 years now, and I've been safe. So
Okay, sweet. Yeah, so don't post your credit card number is what I'm hearing.
exactly,
So yeah,
exactly.
we'll keep that out. Good. Yeah, somebody said Speaky is not very good. You can try them out. The hard thing is that there are more people who want to learn English than there are who want to learn Arabic. So it can be hard to find somebody to connect with, but try it out. Maybe you'll find somebody. And then there's other options as well. So next question we have from Maha.0.7. Um, and she asked, she says, sometimes I get shy when speaking with native speakers. And a few other people here have asked about that as well. Somebody said, what is your name? We're Josh and Josh. So it makes it easy. But yeah, so what do you recommend for people who feel nervous when they talk with native speakers? Like they speak with other Arabs and it's okay. But when they go to a native speaker, it's like, I'm a little scared. I don't want to make mistakes. What do you recommend?
I think it's important to remember this is the case with me. So
Hmm.
obviously confidence is very important, but whenever I meet somebody who is learning the English language, I am like so surprised and I really admire
Hmm.
how much they've learned because I know how
Yeah.
difficult it is to learn um, a second language. So
Hmm.
typically, that person is already thinking how cool it is that you've been putting in all this.
Yeah.
But I think the best thing you can do is understand and give yourself be a little easy on yourself and say, I am learning, but approach that person with confidence. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So it's scary, obviously, talking to a stranger, and I couldn't like it's even when I try and speak a language I'm learning, it definitely is daunting, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
talking to something like that. But I think it's important to know that they will be gracious with you. They won't if they're talking like a million miles an hour,
Yeah.
uh chances are nobody's going to be that way. They will talk clear and concise back to you. And
Hmm.
I think it's important to realize that they think that it's very neat what you're doing and let yourself be confident in that.
Hmm. Yeah. That's a good point. And Josh used the phrase a million miles an hour. In America, we use miles instead of kilometers. And that just means really, really fast. So if somebody speaks a million miles an hour, it means they speak really, really fast. And so somebody here mentioned as well that sometimes when they speak with somebody, they speak really fast. What do you recommend? Like if they're talking with somebody and the person speaks so fast that they can't understand what they said. Is it okay to ask like sorry, I'm learning English. Could you speak a little slower? Um,
Yeah, I would definitely say there's no shame at all in saying, "Hey, I am a new English speaker. Would you mind slowing it down?"
hmm,
Uh, Anything like that, I think they're going to be like, "Oh, of course, I understand." Like they'll be very
yeah,
understanding.
yeah, yeah. I think most Americans will they understand. We're like in America, you have lots of foreigners, right? Like tons of people are not. like originally American who are living here. And so people are used to talking with people who English isn't their first language. Um, and so it's a normal thing to talk with people who make mistakes. But yeah, somebody mentioned Eminem. Yeah, if you try to listen to him, just give up. So it's too fast. I don't know what he's saying. So
I don't know what he's saying.
yeah. But yeah, most people don't speak like that, fortunately, which is really good. What about like when people are speaking in English to a native speaker, to an American? What do you think is more important? That they like make sure they don't make any mistakes and they keep correcting themselves and repeating things so that they say it perfectly? Or is it more important that they just get the general idea out there so it's understandable?
So it's kind of funny that you'd say that. I think what's important in today's like how we speak to each other,
Hmm.
half the time, one American talking to another American isn't even using proper English. So
Yeah.
I think the English language is really all about is kind of getting your point across.
Hmm.
Obviously, always strive your best to use the correct wording and everything like that, but
Hmm.
I would not stress too much about making sure everything is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that's something that where sometimes people are so afraid of, yeah, so afraid of making any mistakes that then they just don't speak, right? Maybe some of you guys can tell us, have you had that experience where you're afraid of making mistakes, so you just don't speak? Um, and I think that's something where, like, even Americans, we make mistakes when we speak, and that's okay. The important thing is you get the point across, which means it's understandable. They understand what you're trying to say, and that's what's really important. And so don't worry about all the mistakes before you're talking with them. When you're practicing at home, try to learn to improve all of those mistakes. Try to get better then. But then when you're talking with the native speaker, um, just speak. Just try to get your idea into their mind. You'll make mistakes. They'll make mistakes. That's okay. So it's kind of prepare beforehand, but during it, it's more difficult for somebody to talk with someone who continues to correct themselves. If somebody it takes 5 minutes to say one sentence because they're trying to make it perfect, people don't want to talk with somebody like that. It's hard. But if you just focus on getting your idea out, people understand that and they like that. So I think
Yeah.
yeah, it's important. Um, do you think that it could be helpful for people to like speak in front of a mirror or anything to kind of build up confidence before doing it?
Absolutely. That's huge. So I
Hmm.
actually give that advice to even just people who are trying to get more confidence in themselves regardless. Um, but normalizing what you're saying to
Hmm.
yourself will go such a long way
Hmm.
when you speak to somebody else because it's all like a game of confidence, really. You want to get as
Yeah.
confident as possible.
Hmm.
So I would say speaking in front of a mirror is an excellent idea.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a good point of what you mentioned as well. The importance of just it becoming normal for you. When it becomes normal in your mind, it's easier to speak it. Um, so yeah, like for example, um, like when I started using the phrase, people ask, "How are you?" and I say, "I'm better than I've earned." I think there's a lot of really good meaning there, but it's not very common. Um, and so for it to become more normal, I had to keep saying it to myself. So it'd become more normal. So then I can say it with confidence. Because if you don't say it with confidence, it can sound a little weird. So that can be a good way of just speak it to yourself in your mind, out loud, in a mirror, to practice for that. And like we mentioned before, try to do things online first. Like speaking in a Twitch chat room is going to be so much easier than talking face to face with somebody. Try to go step by step, build your way there. So that can be really helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's great advice.
Thank you. So we got one more question by I think it's Gudars underscore Ezat, who said, "I can talk in English very well, but when I talk, I forget the right words for my expression." Um, so like maybe kind of that idea. They can talk when they're on their own, but when it's in a context where they're trying to talk like live, they forget a lot of words. What do you recommend for that?
I think before, like we said, confidence is really what it's all about. And it's the same whether you know the language or you don't.
Hmm.
Um, Speaking in front of a mirror is huge, but like I said as well before, there will be grace extended, I feel like. So somebody, if you're having a conversation with them and you go, I've met a lot of people who don't um,
Hmm.
speak English as their first language. So what they typically do is if they can't think of a word that describes something, they'll literally say that. They'll go, I can't think of the word.
Hmm.
Um, and they'll kind of break down what it could mean. So just say they can't
Yeah.
think of the word um, smell. Like, oh, that smells very good. And they say, oh, that, and they'll go, I can't think of the word. Um, and they'll maybe point to their nose or something like that.
Hmm.
They'll understand. The English speaker will understand and maybe even help you and go, maybe you're thinking of the word smell. The food smells good. And they'll go,
Hmm.
exactly. So there's no shame at all in
Hmm.
taking a step back and explaining that you've forgotten the word.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. I think that is really helpful because we do the same thing. We forget words at times too. When we're speaking, like there are so many words and sometimes your brain just can't grab the word that time that you need it. So you're not alone. Americans do it too. But we do that same strategy. Um, is that maybe I forget the word, but my friend remembers it. And so I describe it. I say, oh, what's the word? And then, like you said, I describe it. I try to explain it. And he says, oh, you mean this. Now we have
Yeah.
that word. So that's a super normal thing. Don't feel bad doing that. We do the same thing. Um,
Also, a term we use is that a word is on the tip of our tongue.
hmm,
And it typically means that it's in our mind somewhere and we want to say it, but we can't think of it. So if you want to go, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue,
hmm,
somebody will typically understand that you're having a hard time remembering a word.
yeah,
And that's a phrase that a lot of Americans will use.
yeah, that is a good point. On the tip of my tongue is that. So right here, it's right there. Um, yeah, sweet. Um, Yeah, so that is pretty big. One person, just kind of a little off topic, but somebody asked about like should they learn American English or British English? How different are they? Um, what would you say from your experience? Would you say they're like very different? Like if you meet somebody from Britain, do you have a hard time understanding, or is it pretty easy?
So I think for the most part, they are very, very similar, if
Hmm.
not the where it differentiates, where it's different, um, is typically what we call like slang.
Hmm.
So parts of America will have people will say certain things like it's we say y'all like in down south people
Yeah,
will say y'all so you all but they shorten it to say y'all things
yeah.
like that. You're not going to hear that in Britain, but also there are parts of Britain, especially near London, I hear that they have a lot of really wild terms that even I don't
Hmm.
understand.
Yeah.
So it's going to be more in the slang where the difference is
Hmm.
going to be. Um, Typically, I've never really looked at the statistic or the stats of which language is more common because American English is very unique. There's more land in America, so
Hmm.
I feel like there's more slang that comes with that.
Hmm.
Um, but what would you suggest they learn?
Yeah. Um, yeah, I am slightly biased, but I recommend learning the American English. Um, yeah, for a few reasons. One, like you're mentioning, kind of, uh, there just are more Americans than there are Brits. That I think like 6 or 7 times as many people. So there are a lot of Americans. A lot of the TV shows and music is in American English, and so, and also I think it's something where like the American accent is a little more like cohesive. It's a little more of one. British English, like I have a friend who's British, and he said when you go from one city to another city, you know which city they're from. Here, if I meet somebody from like Vermont or from California, typically I have no idea where they're from. It's all just American English to me. If it's in the South, sometimes it is a little different. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of it is a lot closer. But anyone that you learn will be great. Like you said, almost all of it is the same. I think because in Arabic, it's interesting where the dialects, when you go from Morocco to Saudi Arabia, it's very different. It's
Okay.
kind of like here and here. I can't spread my arms wide enough in this, but it's kind of like you have them here. For all the different or different English accents, American English, British English, Australian, South African, they're all kind of like here. They're all very close. The most important thing is just the pronunciation and, like you said, some of the slang. But typically, if somebody from Britain is talking with an American, or if they're talking with you, they probably won't use as much slang as they would with their friends because they know this is only for my small area. So if you learn either one, like the words will be like 99.9% the same. So don't worry too much about that. They're pretty similar. So, but if you speak with a British accent, you just sound super smart. So
It's a good point. It's a good point.
cool. Then, yeah, if we have, maybe we'll take one more question. If somebody else wants to send one more question, well, I just mentioned somebody said in there that they talk with their sister in English, and I would just say that's an awesome strategy. Talk with people who live in your house. They're with you all the time. Just try talking with them in English. It's okay if you both have lots of mistakes. Just try your best with that. And so, yeah, so try with family, friends, anybody like that. That will help you out a lot. So any opportunities you have to speak, just speak. You can't go wrong with that. So
Absolutely. And if I can just say how cool I think it is that all these people in chat here joining us today, all the effort you guys are putting into
yeah,
learning this, very, very cool. You guys should be very proud of yourselves.
yeah. So we'll give you guys a round of applause there.
There you go.
That's good. Yeah, you guys doing awesome. So that's really great that you're spending time out of your day to listen to people talk about learning English and speaking English. So that's really great. You're on the right track. Means you're going in a good direction. Continue with that. So yeah, really thank you. Thanks to all of you guys. And thank you to Josh for coming and helping us out with this because yeah, a lot of really good insights. So thank you for sharing that. Can you guys all write in the comments, say your thanks to Joshy V in all this? And Josh, what was
Super
that?
fun. I was super glad to be here. It was super, super fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. And hopefully some of you guys will follow Josh on Twitch and you'll be able to talk with him more there. So you can ask him all your questions there and hopefully build a good friendship there. So try to check him out and that'll be really sweet. So, and we'll save the live so you guys can watch it later. You can rewatch it. I'll put it on YouTube. So we should have all that. So any final words, Josh?
Again, just to reiterate how awesome I think all you guys are. And I'm so appreciative that I can come on one of his awesome streams and you guys are so welcoming. Thank you so much. This guy's where it's at, I'm telling you.
Yeah, that guy right there. So sweet. Okay. Well, love all you guys. Grace and peace to you. And I hope to see you all soon.
See you
See you
guys.
guys.